Good day, ma'am. We are the group 5. So today we will be discussing to you the structure and the scope of operations. I will be reading to you the learning contents. Topic 1 is what do we mean by the structure and the scope of operations supply networks? Topic 2, what configuration should a supply network have? Topic 3, how much capacity should operations plan to have? Topic 4, where should operations be located? Topic 5, vertically integrated should an operation network be? Topic 6, operations decide what to in-house and what to insource, what to outsource. We'll move on topic 1. Topic 1 entitled What do we mean by the structure and scope of operation supply networks? The structure of an operation supply network relates to the shape and form of the network. The scope of an operation supply network relates to the extent that an operation decide to the activities performed by the network itself, as opposed to the requesting a supplier to them. But before we examine these issues, we need to establish what we mean by supply network. Why is the structure and scope of an operation supply network important? It helps an understanding of competitiveness. Immediate customers and immediate suppliers, quite understandably, are the main concern for companies. Yet, sometimes they need to look beyond these immediate contacts to understand why customers and suppliers act as they do. It helps identify significant links in the network. Not everyone in a supply network has the same degree of influence over the performance of network as a whole. It helps focus on long-term issues. These are times when circumstances render parts of a supply network weaker than its adjacent links. Structure and scope. So what do we mean by the structure and scope of an operations supply network? The first point to make is the structure and scope are strongly related, which is why we treat them together. Look again the supply network for the shopping mall in figure 5.1. Suppose that the company that runs the mall is dissatisfied with the service that is receiving from the firm that supplies security services. For example, look again at the supply network for the shopping mall in figure 5.1. Suppose that the company that runs the mall is dissatisfied with the service that is receiving from the firm that supplies security services. Also, suppose that it is considering them alternatives. Option 1 is to switch supplies and award the security contract to a competitor to the current security services supplier. Operation 2 is to accept an offer from the company that supplies cleaning services to the supply both security and cleaning services. Option 3 is to take over the responsibility for security itself, hiring its own security staff who would be put on the mall's payroll. These options are illustrated in figure 5.2. The first of these options changes neither the structure nor the scope of the part of supply network. The shopping mall still has these suppliers and is doing exactly what did before. The second point to make is that both structure and scope decisions are actually composed of a number of either construction decisions. These are shown in figure 5.3. The structure of an operation supply network is determined by three sets of decisions. 1. How should the network is to be configured? 2. What physical capacity should each part of network have? The long-term capacity decision. Number 3, where should each part of the network be located? The located decision. The scope of an operation activities within network is determined by two decisions. Number 1 is the extent and nature of the operation's vertical integration, and number 2 is the nature and degree of outsourcing it engagement.
Topic 2. What configuration should a supply network have? Configuring a supply network means determining its overall pattern. In other words, what should be the pattern, shape, or arrangement of the various operations that make up the supply network. Even when an operation does not directly own or even control other operations in its network, it may still wish to change the shape of the network. This involves attempting to manage network behavior by reconfiguring the network so as to change the nature of the relationships between them. The complexity of dealing with many hundreds of suppliers may both be expensive for an operation and sometimes more important, to prevent the operation from developing a close relationship with the supplier. It is not easy to be close to hundreds of different suppliers. Letter A. Disintermediation. Another trend in some supply networks is that of companies within a network bypassing customers or suppliers to make contact directly with customers to customers or suppliers to suppliers. Letter B. Co-opetition. One approach to thinking about supply networks sees any business as being surrounded by four types of players. That is suppliers, the customers, competitors, and complementers. Letter C. The idea of the business ecosystem. This is an idea that is closely related to that of co-opetition in supply networks, is that of the business ecosystem. It can be defined as an economic community supported by a foundation of interacting organizations and individuals, the organisms of the business world. Letter D. Describing supply networks. Dyads and triads. There are many operations, all interacting in different ways, to produce end products and services. Because of this, and to understand them better, supply network academics and professionals often choose to focus on the individual interaction between two specific operations in the network.
Topic 3. How much capacity should operations plan to have? The next set of structure decisions concern the size of capacity of each part of the supply network. Here, we will treat capacity in a general, long-term sense. Number 1. The optimum capacity level. Most organizations need to decide on the size in terms of capacity of each of their facilities. A chain of truck service centers, for example, might operate centers that have various capacities. Number 2. Being small may have advantages. Although large-scale capacity operations will usually have a cost advantage over smaller units, there are also potentially significant advantages that can be exploited by small-scale operation. One significant research study showed that small-scale operations can provide significant advantages in the following four areas. Number 1, they allow businesses to locate near hotspots that can tap into local knowledge networks. Often, larger companies centralizes their research and development efforts, losing touch with where innovative ideas are generated. Number 2, they can respond rapidly to regional customers' needs and trends by basing more and smaller units of capacity close to local markets. Number 3, they can take advantage of the potential of human resource development by allowing staff of a greater degree of local autonomy. Larger scale operations often have longer career paths with fewer opportunities for taking charge. Number 4, they can explore radically new technologies by acting in the same way as a smaller, more entrepreneurial rival. Larger, more centralized development activities are often more bureaucratic than smaller scale, agile centers of development. In Figure A, capacity leading and capacity lagging strategies. In Figure B, smoothing with inventories means using the excess capacity in one period to produce inventory that supplies the undercapacity period. Capacity is introduced generally to lead demand. Timing the introduction of capacity in such way that there is always sufficient capacity to meet forecast demand. Capacity is introduced generally to lag demand. Timing the introduction of capacity so that the demand is always equal to or greater than capacity. Capacity is introduced to sometimes lead and sometimes lag demand. But inventory built up during the lead times is used to help to meet demand during the lag times. This is called smoothing with inventory. Number 3 is break-even analysis of capacity expansion. An alternative view of capacity expansion can be gained by examining the cost implications of adding increments of capacity on a break-even basis.
Topic 4. Where should operation be located? The location of each operation in the supply network is the key element in defining its structure, and also will have an impact on how the network operates in practice. If any operation in the supply network gets the location wrong, it can have a significant impact not just on profit but also on those of the others in the network. So in topic 4 is we have A and B, which A is reason for location decision, and under A is we have the changes in demand and also changes in supply. And for the B is the objective of the location decision. A reason for location decision. Not all operation can logically justify their location. Some are where they are for historical reasons, yet even the operation that are there because they are there are implicitly making a decision not to move. Presumably, their assumption is the cost and disruption involved in changing location would overweigh any potential benefit of a new location. Where operation to move, it's usually for one or both or of the two reasons, changes in demand or changes in supply. Changes in demand. Example here is we have, as a garment manufacturer moved to Asia, suppliers of zippers, threads, and etc. started to follow them. So when we say demand is referring to a consumer's desire to purchase goods and services and willingness to pay price for specific goods or service. So, di ba, in making a garment is you need to have zipper, threads, and etc. So, these manufacturers are going to follow the garment manufacturers. Hindi naman nanlipat ng isang business for no specific reason, right? So, maybe kaya lumipat ang manufacturer ng garment kasi mas mataas ang demand sa Asia. We all know that Asia is into fashion. So, dyan na papasok yung reason for location, which is the changes in demand. The next one is if we have changes in supply. Example is a mining or oil company will need to relocate as the mineral it's extracting becomes depleted. Depleted is diminished in number or quality. So, changes in supply is isang reason ito for changing in location or reason for location on decision. Kasi ang changes in supply is the stimulus for relocation is changes in cost or availability. Sa example is yung oil or mining company is magre-relocate sila just kasi nga naubos na yung mineral dun sa current location nila. The objective of the location decision. The aim of the location decision is to achieve an appropriate balance between three related objectives. First is spatial variable cost of the operation, means that something changes with geographical location. X is the service the operation is able to provide to its customers. And last one is the revenue potential of the operation. The location decision for any operation is determined by the relative strength of numbers of factors as follows: labor costs, labor skills availability, land costs, transportation costs, community factors, the sustainability of the site itself, image of the location, convenience of the customers. Labor cost is we have here, example here is software companies are moved or located mostly in India. The reason is there are many talented and well-educated but relatively cheap staff. Number 2 is labor skills availability. One reasons for location decision is operation. In operation is the labor skills availability. Syempre, you are going to put up a operation wherein there are highly trained or experienced segment of the workplace that can complete or complex mentally or physically tasks on the job. 3 is the land cost. You are going to operate in a land that is or more cheap land cost but it's also profitable one. And next is the transportation cost. So this is also one of the reason in location operation before putting up a business is you need to consider the transportation cost of the customers. Kasi for example is, kunyari mas expensive pa yung transportation cost papunta sa business mo kaysa yung mga price ng products mo. So, the outcome is parang hindi na sila pupunta kasi is ang expensive ng transportation cost. Community factors is you need to consider this one in location for your operation, like human elements, social factors, environment, and resources. These factors possibly represent in a community that can contribute forward the growth of your operation. The sustainability of the site itself in selecting a location for operation is you need to determine the sustainability or the best place for the operation. Image of the location. So in selecting a location for operation is you need to know the past happening in your chosen site location. For example, if may nangyari na bang destructive scenario sa site na iyon and etc. Last one is the consumer convenience. You need also to know this in location of your operation. Know if your consumer is convenient in the place of your operation and also the service that you are giving. Convenience may just decide your ability to grow your business.
Topic 5. How vertically integrated should an operations network be? The scope to which an operation controls its supply network is an issue that will shape the fundamental nature of any business. It determines the extent that an operation does things itself and the extent that it will rely on other operations to do things for it. This is often referred to as vertical integration. When it is the owner of whole operations that is being decided or outsourcing, when individual activities are being considered. The extent of vertical integration varies by company and component. The three companies illustrated in Figure 5.7 have all chosen different vertical integration strategies. Company A is primarily a nasal designer and manufacturer that also makes the parts. Company B is primarily an installer and that also makes the tower and blades, but buys in the nasal itself. Company C is primarily an operator that generates electricity and also design and assembles the nacelle as well as installing the whole tower. but it outsources the manufacture of the parts, tower, and blades. The perceived advantages of vertical integration. Although extensive vertical integration is no longer as popular as it once was, there are still companies who find it advantageous to own several sequential stages of their supply network. Indeed, very few companies are anywhere close to virtual, with no vertical integration of stages whatsoever. What then are the reasons why companies still choose to vertical integrate? Most justification for vertical integration fall into four categories. 1. It secures dependable access to supply or markets. 2. It may reduce costs. 3. It may help to improve product or service quality. Number 4. It helps in understanding other activities in the supply network. The perceived disadvantages of vertical integration. The arguments against vertical integration tend to cluster around the number of observed disadvantages of those companies that have practiced vertical integration extensively. These are the following. It creates an internal monopoly. You cannot exploit economies of scale. It results in loss of flexibility. It cuts you off from innovation. It distracts you from care activities, loss of focus. Thank you.